Welcome, foolish mortals, to the Three Beards podcast, the special Halloween episode of. Since we're obviously not going to be here till after Halloween, so it has to be our Halloween episode. So anyway, one of our favorite holidays, especially mine, is Halloween. And who better to bring on the show than Varla Ventura, our very own personal white witch and accomplished author. She is our friend. We talked to her many times. I'll even show you a few of the books on the show here. Samhain is the ancient Celtic festival that dates about 2,000 years and is the origin of what we currently celebrate as Halloween. They believe that on the night before the new year, November 1st, that the boundary between the worlds, the living and the dead, become blurred and allows the two to interact. Join us now as we talk of this and many more on this, our special Halloween show. Welcome to the Three Beards podcast. My name is Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is white. Justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
All right, and talking to us live from Minnesota is Varla Ventura. How are you tonight?
Hello. I'm great. I had some technical difficulties, but I'm just fine.
No, we'll get it figured out. And like I teased there in the see, she's got a few books, and I have a few too. Even one with my traditional dollar bookmark.
Oh yes, I do remember you use $1 for bookmark.
Yep. And as always, like I said, just because I always like to point that out, not a single crease in any of these books. They have been read. But perfect. So put these back on the So you can go to Amazon.com, check out type in Varla Ventura, and all of her books are there. Or you can go to varlaventura.net, and she's got merchandise that she showed us the last time, along with other information on appearances, what upcoming stuff, plus links for her books as well. So definitely go to varlaventura.net and check her out there and support her. It's a way of saying thank you for being willing to put up with us guys.
My favorite beardos.
I know.
My favorite beardos.
And every time we have you on, I am always reminding myself that was the time that I keep saying that we were going to ship you that beard, so that way you could hold it up every time.
So I could be, and this would be the perfect occasion because it's Halloween.
I know. It's one of those things. I'm either just going to need to do it. Yeah, one of these. Yeah, Mark's right there with it. So basically, little thing, Varla's the writer, traveler, lover of the strange. That one part that showed up there, the paranormal parlor. I mean, that's a perfect book for Halloween. I mean, pick that one up. That one's ghost seances and tales of true hauntings. I mean, that's definitely pick that up. I mean, so we right into this. Halloween show. Want to just get into the traditions of Halloween. I've got. I was a little bored, as you can see. So I'm very well prepared for this.
You better be prepared.
Yeah. So Samhain, is the Gaelic festival that marks the end of harvest season. Believed to be Celtic pagan in origin, and some Neolithic passage tombs in Ireland are aligned with the sunrise at the time of the Samhain. this is an early Irish literature and mythology, marked this stuff as forget large gatherings and feasts. So this is one that this dates back. I want to say this is easily the same thing, probably, centuries, if not millennial, just in dating back for this festival. And this is where they would also mark these things with the special bonfires. And one of the cool ones I didn't really get too much into the bonfire thing, but I saw Hadley Thornton, she had posted something from a group on her Weird Realities about where the bonfires came, where the priests would throw the bones into the fire from the so and that's where I think they on that posted said bone fire, which translated into bonfire, but that was as a celebration. And I thought that was pretty cool because what's ties in perfectly with Halloween than skeletons, bones,
right.
And this one, I want to say I'm going to probably pronounce this one. I didn't look at the pronunciation. Beltane, is that what it is? Or is it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's a May Day festival that marks the summer solstice. Samhain was a liminal, which is, for anybody that doesn't know what that means, it's a middle between two stages. So it's kind of like as you're in transition, like as you're going through a doorway, you're in the liminal point. You're not in the room you were in. You're not in the room yet. You're kind of in that middle thing as you're coming through. And so it's a threshold ceremony because Samhain is the one where you're celebrating the boundary, the thinning between the two worlds, the other world and our world. This is where you're going to come in handy because I don't know how to pronounce this for the life of me. I know the Scots refer to them as the Sith. As a site, but it's
the she. It's
the
she.
The she, and that's it's like SITH. Yeah,
or in Irish it's SIDHE.
Yes,
if that's what you're talking about, and it's the she.
Because, it's
the fairy folk.
Yeah, the AOS SI is how it was. It's when they're, and I like I said, I'm like, Varla's going to know how to pronounce this one because this is not even.
There's a lot of the Gaelic words are very tricky and don't seem at all. They are not at all what they seem, but there's a few that I've memorized, and a few of them are a little more straightforward because we've learned them in that form, right? Because they come from that.
That's and so and that was where the spirits and fairies, come into this world, and souls of our dead ancestors and kin were also thought to revisit their former homes, and that's why places were set during these Samhain meals to provide for their ancestors.
That's right.
And this is where I think it's mummying and guising was part of this festival, where people would go door to door in costume, reciting verses in exchange for food, which is modern day trick or treating in costume. Well, these costumes were seen as a possible way to imitate, thus disguising oneself from these fairies and spirits. To hide. And modern Celtic neo-pagans and Wiccans observe Samhain, as they were the research. They said a religious holiday, but I don't really know too many Wiccans that refer to themselves as a religious group.
Oh, I would counter that. I think that there are quite a few people. Not all witches are Wiccans. So Wiccan is its own thing. It's kind of a neo-pagan movement. Witches have been around since the dawn of time. So Wiccan is kind of a specific type of kind of newer, more modern age witch that would glean from a lot of different traditions. But there are witches who subscribe to very specific traditions, and there's a lot of different kinds. There's Alexandrian, there's people who are more associated with fairies, or and in a very serious way, not in a I'm going to put wings on and dance at a Ren fair kind of way. Although they're probably one and the same, let's be honest. So sorry, I have my computer up. I'm going to just click the link and swap it out if that's okay. But we should be
Yeah, go for it and see if
I just don't want to do
the.
I don't want to do feedback. So should I mute my mic for just a sec?
Yeah, and just see. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Nope. No, you're good. No, so that was one as she's doing that part there too. That's because that was one of the, as I was doing the research, I wasn't sure, and that's why I was having Varla on was going to be such an important thing, is because I've never kind of looked at the Wiccan thing as a like organized religion, and so that's why I didn't know if they were going to be kind of like a religious, thing. So, yep, look, let's see, there she is. She's back. In her.
Is that a religion that takes donations as well?
Whoop.
Yeah, I don't know.
There we go. All right.
So that's, and then so I don't know with that one. Like I said, I don't know. I mean, what we were talking about right before. Do you see it as an organized religion?
So I would say Wiccan. Well, there are certainly organized religious aspects. Yes, I think so. I think that a lot of people do identify it as a religion, or at least as a spiritual practice. That might be a better way of describing it. I personally am not religious, was not raised religious, was basically raised by a witch. So I don't really, when I think of religion, I do tend to think of something that is more organized, but there are, it's not just people like hanging out, lighting candles. Like there are very organized festivals, very organized celebrations, very organized rituals, and many people who are initiates into witchcraft, which is a series of steps and pledges that you take to become part of a specific coven. So in that way, it's quite serious. And I do find that, at least in my experience, sometimes people who were raised in a very religious upbringing, as in like, when were raised Catholic or Baptist, or just went to church a lot as a kid, they go away from that and they explore kind of the pagan movement. But I do find that some people who have those roots, this is just in my experience, people who have those roots do tend to gravitate toward the more organized and initiatory aspects of witchcraft. So,
okay.
Because I think there's a familiarity there that makes sense. So that's just in my experience and the people that I know.
Do you use this as a celebration period yourself? I mean, do you observe this?
This is yes. Yeah. This is the time to celebrate. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I use it, of course, just in a very like ordinary celebratory way that I, more excuses to have. You can see my friend over here kicking it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, more excuses to just get more stuff like that I can have around. But I do use it in a very serious way. Every Halloween, I do have a fire of some kind and have some manner of ritual that I do privately, or occasionally with a couple of other people who I trust. And we usually do something fairly simple, something just like very candle based. But by and large, it's kind of a period of time. So it's not just the one night. There's things leading up to it, and you can really feel that. You can feel that shift, and kind of to what you were saying before. Like Beltane is basically the opposite of Halloween, but of Samhain. But the veil is also very thin on Beltane. And so while it is perceived more as a celebration of light, it's actually another time when the veil is very thin. And actually at all of the kind of quarter marks as well, the solstice, the summer solstice, the winter solstice, all throughout the wheel of the year, there are times when, for various reasons, that veil is a bit thinner and the gates, so to speak, are open.
Now, is that why May Day, like that time, is that why it's always feels like such a chaotic time too?
It does have a chaotic feel. I think it's that like leading up into the summer. And then keep in mind also, depending on where you lived, like in the Celtic tradition, which is primarily Ireland and the British Isles, the demarcation between winter and summer was more significant than the other seasons, whereas some of us live in places where there's very like hard marks. But the most significant changes were the end of the harvest going into the winter and the beginning of the harvest going into the summer. So those were kind of the two real like opposites on the end of the wheel.
So that's cool. See, this is why we bring.
See, there's lots of times when you can, connect with the dead year round, really.
Yeah, and that's
because
it's always been kind of one. It's like why this this time. I mean, because I said when you have these multiple periods, it's like what was it about this time that was so, I know like the tradition. We'll get into some of the traditions. I know that's one of the things like the black and orange was tied to the death of summer. Black was represented the death of summer. Orange was the harvest and the fall colors coming in, and so that's where black and orange became the traditional colors for Halloween, and that's why. And I didn't know that prior to looking these things up, and that's where those represented. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that you were talking about, I know we're probably get into this, but you were talking about kind of the trick or treating, which I think is something that we all really equate with Halloween so much. And one of the things that I actually learned a couple years ago, I was reading an article in an Irish paper about all of the different traditions, and so as we were talking about, there's this ritual bonfire. This has been going on since, before the Romans invaded the Celtic Empire, right? They're having these celebrations, generally marked by a bonfire. Beltane also a bonfire. Like bonfires are significant. And there's a number of traditions around that. But one of the things is the idea of the bonfire being a communal event. And as you came more into specifically the Celtic revival period, which was more like the 1800s, when in Ireland, scholars like William Butler Yeats were traveling around and gathering stories from the people. And there was sort of a revival in the art and culture and literature and myth to sort of elevate that back up into society. And during that time, the bonfires were still going, but it became more common for children to go from, door to door in the wealthier neighborhoods and get a contribution from the wealthy for the communal table or for the bonfire. It could be wood, it could be money, it could be food, it could be bread. And these were the things that you would get and you would, bring back to the celebration. And it was kind of considered the duty of those who were better off to contribute to the good of the whole community. And that is actually the beginning of trick-or-treating. That tradition was happening in Ireland. And then as the Irish immigrants came to the United States, that tradition kind of kept up, in little ways, but then it became the kids would go and get the things before, but now you have the kids getting candy, which is way better than like a chunk of bread, but
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's because like I said, you kind of segued right into it. It's like we'll talk about some of the traditions. First one is, everybody knows about a jack-o'-lantern. The one that I didn't know, and maybe Austin and Chris, do you guys know where the jack-o'-lantern came from? Do you have any idea?
I know.
No, Varla does. Yeah, so they originally, because everybody knows about pumpkins with carved faces and candles, are the Halloween, staple. This actually began in Ireland, where they used to carve large turnips and potatoes, and they would use those. The jack-o'-lantern term actually derives from an Irish folktale of Stingy Jack, and Irish immigrants brought this tradition to America where we're the land of pumpkins. And so now you have a larger gourd, a lot larger canvas. So it's a lot easier. So that's where the pumpkin was carved. But the legend of Stingy Jack, this one is pretty cool. It's Stingy Jack invited the devil to have a drink with him. And true to colors, he didn't want to pay for that drink. So he convinced the devil to turn himself into a coin that he could use to buy those drinks. So the devil decided, okay, and he made the change, but Jack decided to keep the coin instead, and he placed it in his pocket right next to a silver crucifix. That because of this, that devil was not allowed to change back. Jack eventually freed the devil on the one condition that he not be bothered for 1 whole year, and that if he should die, would not claim his soul. So that next year, Jack again tricked the devil into climbing a tree to pick a piece of fruit. While up in this tree, Jack carved a sign of the cross into the tree bark so that the devil could not come back down. So until the devil promised that he would not bother Jack nor collect his soul for 10 more years. Soon after he tricked the devil, he died. And as the legend goes, God would not allow such an unsavory person into heaven. And the devil, upset by his tricks played upon him by Jack, also kept his word as to not claim his soul, so Jack could not go into hell. So instead, the devil sent Jack off into the night with only a burning coal to light his way. Jack carved out a turnip and has been roaming the earth lost to this day. So the Irish refer to his ghost as Jack of the Lantern, which is now known simply as Jack O'Lantern. And that's where the Jack-o'-lantern came from.
That's very
Well, actually.
So here's where you set the straight. So that's what I got.
No,
So here.
I mean, and that is a tale, and it is told and has been told probably since about the 1800s, when Christianity, was the norm in Ireland, or Catholicism. So prior to that, turnips were used, or other things were used as the means of a lantern. But prior to the belief in the devil himself, the lanterns were also used in other ways. For example, they were carved and taken to the bonfire. And it was believed, because it was the new year, it was believed that at the end of the night, you carried back the coal from the bonfire, the Samhain bonfire, and you brought it back to your hearth. And the first fire that you lit of the new year was then blessed because you had brought it back from this ritual fire. So the exact origins of jack-o'-lanterns, I mean, that is absolutely one of the stories, and one of the ways that we think of the guy with the big smiley face and the triangle eyes. That's the kind of the warding off. But they were carved traditionally to ward off evil, to light the night, and to bring good luck to people. And so the actual jack-o'-lantern on Halloween came from carrying the it was somewhat practical. It was a transport from the fire back to your own home. Nope, so not saying Stingy Jack's story isn't cool and isn't the reason that we call them jack-o'-lanterns. That's where the term jack-o'-lantern comes from. But the tradition of having these lanterns goes back well beyond the belief in Satan.
Doesn't that make complete sense though? I mean, because it's a practicality. I mean, it's like, why waste? I mean, you have a fire. Take the fire with you.
This is a very significant ritual. Yeah. Because this is the ritual that is ensuring that you're going to make it through the winter, that your community, your group, your family is not going to starve during the lean times. So you've taken everything from the harvest, you've done all the work. You're also burning the fields because you're actually adding nutrients to the soil. So there's another element there that is also tied in with agriculture. And then you're moving forward into this time of darkness, and you're basically like having that huge fire to keep that darkness at bay for one more night. And, while that veil is thin, just dance your socks off. Because what else are you going to do? You got to cavort with the witches, or, they'll cavort with you. So I think that that it's a very significant time because it would actually keep people sane, tied together, and ready to go into this dark period when things really had to be portioned out, and it was and of course they were carving turnips, and I think everybody probably knows this, but yes, pumpkins are indigenous to the United States, and potatoes are indigenous to South America. So there's some trade going on in the 1600s. You can thank the pirates for bringing the, some of the errant potatoes back, I'm sure. But
it became a staple.
It's just another. But there's traditional dishes that are based, like the colcannon is a traditional dish that is made at Samhain that is served at Halloween, and that's like a potato-based dish. So it's such a part of Irish culture, but it.
Because I know the British carved beets in the research that they carved out large beets.
Now that's a cool one because they're so red and bloody that could be.
It has a whole different content. Yeah, it has a whole different.
We carve pineapples down here.
Yeah,
pineapples.
Yeah, I've got that picture. I'll post that on our site.
I have a pineapple skull. I was here. Actually, I was going to put it behind me, but I forgot. I have a pineapple skull I got at Target this year.
That's the only thing that'll hold up in this humidity.
That's awesome.
So for your for your Halloween rituals, do you like start preparing from Friday on, or you start preparing on Saturday?
Well, so I've kind of been in preparation for the last couple of weeks. I've been sort of gathering the things that I need to gather. Actually, doing some harvest. I have quite a few plants and herbs in my garden that I harvest and dried, and so I actually started that like a good 2 months ago, just to make sure they were dried in time to throw on the fire. So that will be something that I'll do, and I'll be smoking everyone out. It's Artemisia, it's wormwood is mostly what I'll be throwing on that fire. But yeah, I mean, I kind of do, and also I really love I have a whatever. I have an understanding of what it is, but I also love to invite people that don't necessarily have an understanding or a greater connection with Halloween other than, trick-or-treating or taking their kids trick-or-treating or something like that, to look at it as a time when you can kind of, you can make a wish, basically. You can really set an intention for your new year and what you want going into the year and what you want to change. And you can call upon the ancestors to help you with that because it's easier passage. It's easier to connect, and the darkness descends quicker. So as long as you have to practice responsibly when you're working with entities from another dimension, but you definitely can. And I mean, we see this in the Dia de los Muertos tradition. You see that the preparation for that goes on for weeks.
Wow.
You start with making these beautiful flower altars and preparing foods, and then you go and clean the grave, and then you go and add things to the grave, and then you cook the foods, and then the night of as you're going into the Day of the Dead, that's the time when people are gathering around the graves and actually mourning out loud, roving and playing music and celebrating the memories and life of the people who are buried there. And so there's traditions like that, of course, around the world that kind of integrate the dead. So what we have in the United States in particular is actually takes from several different cultures, and in a very cool way. We've got the kind of the dancing skeletons of the Mexican tradition integrated in with the stingy jack-o'-lanterns. So
that's right. And my sugar skull behind me. Yep, that's my head's in the way. Right there. Yes, but yeah, that Dia de los Muertos is for me it's one of those where out of a lot of like traditions, it's pretty amazing that you don't make it just such a solemn thing going to see your relatives sight, because a lot of people go in reverence, and everybody's just the sadness. Whereas this one, yes, it's sad, but you're also taking as a time to still bond around that lost one. I mean, everybody comes together as a group, and you have that family. Basically, you're having a mini family reunion.
Yeah.
There with your loved ones, and you're still including them. So it's a way
you're
of
acknowledging death.
Yeah.
You're acknowledging that death is part of life, and it sucks, but it is. And you're celebrating. I mean, there's parades, and there's a great deal of joy in that process as well, because it does help us feel better. It helps me feel better to prepare something and think of someone and think of what they would like.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you feel connected to them even beyond the mortal world. So it makes sense.
Absolutely. And then, like I said, in the next tradition, like I said, bobbing for apples. Does anybody remember that one? How that one came about?
I think it was came about primarily in the Victorian era as a means of trying to figure out who you would marry. It was like an oracle type thing, one of those kind of parlor games.
Yeah, because what I got it was a tradition that started also back during the Roman invasion of Britain.
Oh.
Yeah, too, is that the Romans combined their celebrations with the Samhain festivals, because apples were seen as a sign of fertility.
Yeah,
and
that
abundance.
makes sense. Mm-hmm.
And so then,
and
like
they're abundant that time of year.
Yeah, and this one, during that one, they would have apples, I think, on a string.
Yeah.
In line,
and
that's
try
where
to bite them. Right.
Take a bite, and then that would be the one that would be allowed to marry.
Okay, I've seen that done with donuts.
Yeah, and so then, like you said, in the Victorian day, that's when the bobbing for apples. That was the one where it was kind of like it was almost like a Victorian age Match.com. The singles would bob for apples, and whoever. Yeah, and the two that would come in contact usually with each other, trying to get the same apple. They'd usually, they'd end up, you would find your true love that way. Yes,
I've seen that in a movie. I'm very bad with movies because I don't watch much TV. But I've seen that in a movie, Bobbing for Apples. I don't know what movie it was in.
Yeah, well, in today's day, a lot of people, germaphobes, just freak out. Everybody's sticking their heads.
I remember doing it as a kid, though. Yeah. I remember doing that as a kid. It's hard. It's really hard to get an apple.
Yeah, I remember.
Better
when I was growing up, it's a horse trough.
Easier if you have fangs.
And they just took the
number 2 wash tub is what we had. Yeah.
Yeah, they tossed all these apples in like that, and then people would just go in there and try to grab the apples.
Yeah.
And, now you're just thinking about, just
saliva exchange.
Yeah, everybody just slobber it all. Yeah,
and it was always like a bunch of kids who are just so grubby, right?
No, you're thinking
so grubby.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's like in today's days how everything has changed. Now you even look back to whenever somebody blows candles out on a cake, you're like, oh, they're spitting all over the cake. I'm like, I can't believe you just. Yeah, you never really used to think about that. It's like now, it's like the last few years, you're just like, thinking about all this stuff.
Yeah, well, and the kids think about it too. It's they're more diligent with hand sanitizer and masks than most of the adults.
I know. I was like, we're still living to the old. It's like, I never used to look at me. I rubbed dirt on it.
They're just like, this is more than. I mean, some of the kids, it's more than half their lives. It's been like this. It's completely normal, So.
But you brought up a valid point. I never knew that it's a time to get closer with ancestors. I burn ancestor money several times a year with candles. So I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna try it on Halloween. See if I get it.
Halloween.
I know. Yeah. You just gave me an idea. See if I get a better connection.
Yeah, and it's just a great, especially if you're. Like one of the things I've learned, and I actually worked on this pretty amazing book this year with a friend of mine. His name is Christian Day, and he wrote The Witch's Book of the Dead. And I worked in an editorial capacity, just kind of helping him revise that book for his 10th anniversary. And I learned a lot from him because that's his practice. Like that's his jam. And but one of the great and seemingly obvious points that I think a lot of people miss is solicit the person on the other side who would actually know something about the thing you want. So in other words, if you know that somebody was, a chronic gambler and, kind of died a pauper, don't ask them to help you win the lottery, right? Like, if you're looking for love, don't ask the auntie who never got married, like just there's so some things like that. So I just thought that makes a lot of sense. So when you're asking for something, and maybe you're just making an offering, you're not necessarily asking for anything, which is great. But if you do want just the blessing, even you gotta just maybe know who you're asking. Because that's
a good point. I mean, you usually don't go to the crazy cat lady for dating advice.
No, I mean, unless you want
to you call on your auntie,
someone with cats.
You call on your auntie who's been married 7 times. Hey, auntie, I'm trying to find love here.
I'm looking for love. Well, I know where you can find it. I just can't guarantee it'll.
Yeah, exactly. It's not one to last. That's for. No, it's. The other way, like I got new candles. I put new batteries in my candles, so they're all nice.
They're very realistic.
I know.
You can't even tell. I mean, mine are real.
I seen yours. His is fake.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, they're fake. Like I said, they work pretty good. I mean, I can move around. It's like.
Well, I will tell you though, I left a candle burning in my house last night all night, which I like to do if I am trying to do that, but I wasn't trying to do that. And I came down here and I saw it in the morning because it was very dark morning, very rainy, dark morning. And I saw the light kind of like flickering as I opened the door, and I thought, oh, oops, but it was, a pretty sturdy one, but still,
So yeah, it's just one of those. It's like,
yeah,
it's Austin. Yeah. Anyway, Alan's saying he likes your Ford shrine that you got going on there. You got the Ford sign with the candle burning for it.
You can't. You can't.
Oh, the
Ford shrine. Yeah.
Not a Chevy man, huh?
Yeah.
Found a road dead.
But yeah, the candles. One of the things I found is and maybe you help with this. Some of the research I found, like a lot of the traditions, besides just for light and stuff, the whole purpose of during the celebration of having the candles was kind of like runway guiding lights. This was to help the dead pass on, find their way, to the next place. So that's where the bonfires were the large beacons, and the candles were like the individual, more of a subtle way of steering, like the lanes.
Yeah. And that does make sense. That makes a lot of sense. And then in terms of just like that kind of the reason I think candles are so regularly used in spells these days is because it's a way that we can have fire and connection in a contained environment within our home. A lot of us do not have fireplaces or places to have huge fire pits. And so, I do, but in California, you can't burn anything because, as you know, California is bone dry. And I moved to Minnesota, and I'm telling you, people have bonfires bigger than a tree in their yard all the time. It's just like mayhem, constant bonfires. It's pretty great. So we have a bonfire in Halloween, but the connection with that fire and that flame is part of a very, very simple way of re-invoking that kind of ritual. Just as you do in a church, you light a candle. It's a guiding light, right, up to somebody that you're calling upon, or you're making an offering to, or you're hoping it guides them on their way. And I just think that with candles, it's something that it's regularly, it's easy for us to obtain and use that in our own kind of mini rituals. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then you saw that Laura, she's like, it's also said that blowing one out is how you get a deity to hear you.
I never heard of that one. I
never heard that either.
Yeah, that one's new to me too. That's
that's cool. That's cool. I know that one thing was kind of drilled into me from a young age is to never put out a ritual candle that you've that you've lit. And I actually took this candle making class from a woman in Nashville one time who had started this business. And she said, well, candles have memories. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, yeah, candle has a memory. So whatever point you blow that candle out, you know how some candles collapse on themselves?
Mm-hmm.
It's because you blew it out before it kind of got like liquefied evenly all the way across. And so she said they have memories. So when you light a candle for the first time, make sure you have enough time for it to burn evenly all the way across. Let's say it's in a votive or something, because otherwise every time you're going to get this little like
deep hole.
Yeah, the hole in the middle. And I thought, oh, well, that makes sense. And that actually makes a lot of sense why with candle magic, it matters whether or not your candles, how they land and how they drip and all of that stuff matters. But it can be very difficult. So what I do is you can buy very short spell candles, but honestly, sometimes I just use birthday candles if I'm really in a hurry. I'm like, okay, I won't put this out because I don't have to, so I'll just light this. And they come in every color of the rainbow, including rainbow. So they're very handy for spell on a dime.
Wow, that's yeah, because that's Chris will get back in here. That's the running joke. He forgets to put the quarters in his internet meter, and so it's lately. It's just like random. About half hour, 40 minutes into the show, he just drops.
My prepaid internet service cut off on me. I don't know what's going on. We got to figure it out.
Now, does anybody know where the tradition of candy came from?
I actually don't. Other than I know why things are handed out. I don't actually know why candy.
It's the
other
main
than the fact
tradition
that
is
it's
early
yummy.
20th. Yeah, the early 20th century. Treats were given door to door. You kind of talked about, toys, coins, fruits, nuts, foods, just the average thing, and some candies were handed out. But starting in the 1950s, trick-or-treating really took off. That became a lot more popular. And this, obviously, and here comes the marketing,
sponsored by Hershey's.
Yeah, the candy companies saw the opportunity, and so they really started marketing it. And that's when we really started getting a lot of, because before you used to be able to go to the shops and there'd be the jar, like anybody goes to the candy shops right now, you have the big jars of candy,
Yeah.
Well, they never used to have a lot of individual wrapped candies. Well, because of this, these companies started making individual wrapped stuff to give out. So, and it just became a boom. Well, it was, you still had other stuff, but the 1970s scare, I don't know if anybody.
The razor blade and the apple.
The razor blade and the apple, the pick, and that prompted thing to unwrapped stuff really wasn't a thing anymore. It's like it had to be wrapped. Do you guys know what happened in 1974, October 31st, 1974? Ronald O'Brien, he gave cyanide laced pixie sticks to 5 children, including his son.
I do remember hearing about that.
Yeah, the other children never ate the candy, but his son did. I think his name was Timothy, did and died soon after eating that. There was no witnesses to him placing the cyanide in the candy, but during the investigation, they found that he had recently taken life insurance policies out on his children.
Gross.
And so he was convicted of murder and executed by lethal injection in 1984 for this thing. But because of this, like you said, with the razor blades and the apples, this became such a scarring thing, because this is right around the Tylenol poisoning thing. This became such a huge thing to the second that now everybody is just like, when you go trick-or-treating, most of your parents, if you had one that broke open, like you had loose candy,
you're throwing it out.
You don't eat that one. Don't eat that one.
I check my son's candy.
It is. And even though there's usually nothing wrong, but it's so ingrained in our psyche now that we're just like, if it is not wrapped, it's not safe. Don't touch it. Don't touch. Even though we try. It's all chemicals from some company that makes a Skittle. We're just popping. We're just popping nothing but artificial colors and
red number 5, baby.
Yeah. We're like, don't eat that unwrapped jawbreaker. That could be bad for you.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm sure in some states they're giving out edibles to kids.
Oh yeah,
that'd be a poor Halloween.
Colorado.
I'm it's kind of take it or leaving with a lot of people too, but I love candy corn.
That's my favorite.
Fucking disgusting.
Weird.
Yeah.
You're disgusting. Candy corn is the best thing. You know, if you stack it, it looks like
You
a corn.
eat wax. You're eating wax.
It's tasty wax,
You're
sir.
in the minority right now, man.
Yeah.
That is
The best
You
blend.
do not want to go down this road.
Don't
The harvest mix blend that they have out where it has the
Harvest
pumpkins.
mix? What the
No.
Yeah, it has the pumpkins with the regular candy corn and the ones that are the black, orange, and white.
And it tastes like maple. That's
Oh,
horrible.
Do you take bites out of candles in the off season?
I think he did.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't like-
That's all that is. The little mini pumpkins are just balls of wax.
Do you know the history of candy corn?
I don't.
I looked this up too. It was attributed to Wonderly Candy Company in Philadelphia that invented it. But there was another company that saw the potential and brought it to the mass market in 1898.
Rocks?
They originally called it chicken feed.
Oh, gross.
And with the slogan "Something Worth Crowing For" was the market for candy corn. But starting in the 1950s, this became a Halloween, fall tradition.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to Walmart now, it's like July. They start rolling out candy corn.
Oh,
So
I know. Well, it's almost Halloween. It's already there. All the Halloween stuff all gone. It's all Christmas stuff already.
Oh, it's fat kid chonky seeds is what those things are. Because I'm telling you, it's like we see those, and you walk by Walmart, and it's just a wall of candy corn. And I'm just like, oh, why? I have to sit there and walk past it. I can't do it.
And they smell so good, so I bite the white off first, then I bite the orange,
I eat them
and
in
then I
layers
bite.
too. Yep, that's how I eat them. Totally.
So we talked about, because Chris mentioned it. So if you stack them, they look like a corn on the cob. So if you were to do that, what do you put in the center? Because you got to put something there to hold it in place. Because obviously, and I was like, would it fondant? Would you put chocolate? What would you use to hold them in place? Because that was just our
a Chico stick.
Ooh, God, those are good. Come on, Austin, say what you don't like about them now. Come on.
There's no chocolate.
Yeah, it's basically Chico stick is the center of a Butterfinger, without the chocolate.
Without the chocolate. Yeah.
It's just
genius.
Yeah, we could talk candy all this stuff. It's like Butterfinger. Do you know what one of the ingredients is of Butterfinger?
Butter?
Cornflakes.
Fingers. Oh.
Fingers.
Mine have fingers in them.
Yeah. Marshmallows and pretzel. Yes. The one I don't know if anybody else, I'll do this thing. Circus peanuts. I can't do those.
I don't know.
But it's more wax. You don't like wax?
No, the circus peanuts. I don't know.
Circus peanuts are they're soft and strange, and they're the thing that were at your grandma's house because none of your cousins would eat them, and so you would get.
Well, that and the
them.
leftover brick from last Christmas of hard candies that they tasted amazing, but you had to take the chisel.
You had to take
you had to chisel a piece off. It tasted amazing.
Do well in humidity.
Austin's too young to remember that. They had the glass jar on the kitchen table, and it's sitting around there all year, and it's green and red, and you got to break it to eat it.
Like a jar like this.
Exactly. Yep.
Yes.
That was.
Which is actually usually full of candy corn, and I'm going to refill it with candy corn for my Halloween guest. So. Oh
man, I'm telling you this. That's a staple. I mean, it's just. Yeah, it's cheap chocolate wax. It's not.
What's your favorite candy?
Haters on candy corn. It's one of the, it's everybody. We've got a few people that are Team Austin. I don't understand this.
No.
Yeah.
What's your favorite candy?
Favorite candy? God.
Are we talking just in all time, or are we just talking Halloween?
Ever,
yeah,
all
time.
candy.
Yeah.
Red vines.
No idea what it is.
Twizzlers.
Wait, I'm sorry.
What the hell?
Did you just say you don't know what a red vine
is?
Yeah.
I don't
beat you with one.
I don't either.
Where are you from?
It looks like licorice, and it's in a blue package that says red vines.
Oh, it's kind of they're
soft. At the movie theaters.
They're a knockoff from a Twizzler.
No. Red vines came before Twizzlers.
Okay, well, Twizzlers are a knockoff of Red Vine, but what Red Vines are?
Twizzlers look like the thing you make from the Play-Doh thing. All those little strings come out.
Twizzlers taste like
Twizzlers. They're freaking Twizzlers.
Yeah, they're not.
They're not.
licorice.
No,
all right.
Well, my favorite candy comes out on Easter.
Those are Twizzlers. We went to Red Vine.
No.
Come up.
No,
No,
they're
they're
completely
not the
different.
same.
They look like my
That's
fishing
because
worms.
people are ignorant, and the
They're the
algorithm
same.
is
They're the same
proving
thing.
it.
You give a millennial some of that, they'll be like, "That's a knockoff Twizzler."
Yeah, exactly. It just
You bring
shows your age for
I'll
sure.
take y'all fishing. You bring that and use it as bait. That's what it looks like.
My wife thinks it's absolutely disgusting, but I love black licorice. That's
Yeah, I know. I can't do
God.
I can't do
yeah.
that flavor.
I'm
I had too much absinthe when I was a teenager, and now anything anise flavor.
I like those good and plenties. I love those
It's
things.
like too many shots of Jägermeister. Too many
I can
shots
drink
of Jägermeister.
I can drink Jaeger, but I don't like licorice.
No, I can't. I could once upon a time when I was young and didn't know any better what the
Okay.
consequences would be.
So
Yeah, what was that?
determine-
Nana had one that shaped like a chicken and had butterscotch candies in it.
Oh yeah, the chicken one, totally. It had like the top and
Yeah.
top
Yeah,
top,
I'm trying to remember what the name of that was.
the candy or the dish.
So they determined that
Yep,
red
the
vines
dish. I
have,
remember. I was trying to remember. Yeah, I think I remember this. Yeah, the butters. You had all those. Now with those butterscotch candies, were those the ones that were just in the gold cellophane?
Yeah, like those little like Brocks or something. Yeah.
Yep.
What's the special candy that Grandma had to have the crack dealer to go to? It's got like a fruit, like a strawberry on it. Those are the horriblest candies in the world.
Oh, the Hickory Farms, the Hickory
You
Farms
like
strawberry ones.
special order them from that catalog that also has small salamis and things.
Yep, Hickory Farms. Hickory Farms with it. Yep.
You're in church
look.
coughing. That's what you're gonna get. Here, put it in your mouth. It's just
So-
nasty.
red vines
Yeah, but
have
when
less
you're a kid and that's
ingredients.
the only candy you get, you're like, yummy. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is good.
Oh, you got it. My bad.
Yeah, strawberry bonbons.
Strawberry bonbons,
There's
yeah.
a vegan Kit Kat. What?
That's what you need to eat. Vegan Kit Kat.
Apparently. Oh, look. It says red vines have less ingredients and lack preservatives, so they can go stale quickly. Twizzlers are loaded with sugar and preservatives. So
red vines are better for you.
But-
I'm gonna go
Yep.
with that.
apparently
Totally.
in
Also,
2020,
they work as straws for your lemonade, so that's kind of nice.
2020, they declared Twizzlers as a taste test winner
Okay.
Yeah, but that's
because they're the same.
they don't decide.
Yeah. All right, Ron. Which side are you?
That is
Left
a
Twix
tough
or right
question,
Twix?
though. What
Which
is
one
your
are you?
favorite candy?
He said left Twix or right Twix.
The hard candy with the.
Did you? I don't know, Varla, you wouldn't have seen it because I said, but I shared it on Facebook a while ago. It was a meme somebody made. It said very funny Twix, and they had the white chocolate Twix and then the regular Twix. The dark chocolate one was like really tall, and then the white chocolate one was a lot smaller. And they're like really funny Twix, really funny.
I didn't even know that white chocolate Twix exists.
They do. They're amazing.
White chocolate, anything is delicious.
I do love white chocolate, even though
Anything
technically
white
it's
chocolate.
not chocolate.
I know-
We know that, right?
You see,
What?
No, it's not.
What is it?
It
doesn't
has
grow-
no chocolate in it. It has
doesn't
no
grow
cocoa or
cocoa.
cacao
What is
in
it?
it.
No cocoa, no cacao.
It's basically sugar and butter. That's why it tastes so
Yeah.
good. And vanilla.
I'm not a big fan of it with peanut butter cups, though.
Oh,
Haven't
No,
tried
that's not-
Those white chocolate peanut butter cups. I'm not a huge
Haven't
fan
tried
of that. But
those.
White
the
chocolate
other stuff,
Snickers,
like
though.
I said, all those things like Kit Kat, all this are they're amazing.
My all-time favorite candy is a Zero Bar. It makes you feel like your diabetes is finna knock you in the throat every time you eat it. It is like you have to get some milk. Give me like.
I think the ultimate fat thing.
Zero bar. Those are intense. Yeah,
Well, Three Musketeers, my wife, it was a skill. She could eat the chocolate around
I can do
the
that.
Three Musketeers and
I
not
can
even
do
touch the
that
center.
and leave the middle, and then
Yep,
eat
and leave them
only
in,
the
and then
middle.
you eat that. It was just,
Yeah.
it was
I
one of
used to
those.
do
It was
that.
like an absolute art to it. I love.
I used to do that with McDonald's chicken nuggets. Eat the skin around it, then eat the white part. You don't do that? No.
Well, that's weird.
I'm just shut up.
He's eating the skin and then the white part. He
Poor
ate the skin
Austin.
and then the white part.
Not working out well for you.
He
Apparently not.
ate the skin and then the white part.
I mean, that's impressive, but I mean, that's where all the flavor comes from. The nugget. I mean, you basically
You
just
see the
ate all the
blend?
flavor. Now you just got this weird filling. It's supposed to be chicken.
Which is not even necessarily
Artificial
authentic
Yeah, exactly.
chicken. So
I think the most fat kid thing I've ever eaten was the Hershey's cups with the Reese's Pieces inside. I'm like, that's just fucking nothing but peanut butter.
I didn't know that existed.
Oh, it's delicious.
You mean you did it yourself, or you bought it
No,
like
they
that?
come with it. They
They
come.
come
in
with that.
Reese's
It's
Pieces cups with pretzels, Reese's Pieces, sometimes you'll see Hershey bars with Reese's Pieces in the Hershey bar. Yeah,
That's too much.
I had no idea.
so good.
Yeah, I was trying to bring up a picture here to show you. They have it where it's just.
They have Reese's
All the things
Pieces
in there.
cups with, I think, like cookie chocolate, like cookie pieces. It's everything. Oh my god.
I mean, I think right now, I think the only thing that they don't have is Reese's peanut butter cups with Reese's peanut butter cups in them.
No, they do that too sometimes.
Good
Mini
God.
cups. They do mini cups.
We
Yeah,
did too. This summer, a friend of mine came over, and her favorite candy in the world is the peanut butter cups, and we did s'mores with cookies and peanut butter
There they
cups instead of. Oh yeah, I've never seen those, and
It's
not
so
everyone's
good.
tasted.
You're literally eating 2 candies at once.
So
So good.
good. Yeah.
Yep.
I cannot
Yeah.
stand those when they start making the trees and the ghosts. Oh god, it just ruins it. I don't know why.
Yeah, there's.
God,
Yeah,
I
see,
want
here's the
Reese's.
See, it's just peanut butter inside the white chocolate. It's
Nah.
Wait, now, Chris, you were saying your favorite candy comes out at Easter, but what did you say it
He
is?
likes them Peeps.
I love Peeps.
Oh, you love Peeps.
I can
Oh
eat
my
like,
God,
I can eat like the whole pack. I smash them down. I just
Do you remember those like snowballs, and they were like
Yes.
the things, and they were covered with
coconut.
and they're just
Yep.
marshmallow inside? Yeah, I loved those when I was little.
Me too. I love anything with coconut and marshmallow.
I can't eat them anymore though. It's like I get a headache from that much sugar.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic stuff. Yes.
Peeps.
Dude,
What's
Peeps
wrong with
is
you?
like
Lord,
red
on this one,
vines.
man.
Peeps
Anything
is like
peanut
red
butter?
vines. People are either on one side of the fence or the other. And have you ever done Peeps jousting?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
Sugar.
You
Yeah.
take 2 Peeps and you put toothpicks in them and you put them in the microwave and they joust and they melt into each other. And whoever,
that's
last
okay.
Peep standing.
All right,
It was wicked.
I gotta find a photo of my sister.
we're gonna have to do this now. It's like
Hope
there's got to be.
my sister's listening.
There's pictures of it. I guarantee you there's pictures of Peeps jousting.
There's
Jousting.
oh god, I hope my sister's watching because there's an old photo back in when I was in high school. When she used to smoke, she put a cigarette in a Peep. It was pretty funny.
Oh,
I gotta find it.
She's screwing up a peep, dude. No,
No, we used to microwave Peeps too.
sacrilege.
Yeah, I've never even seen that thing, but I mean that's fantastic.
It's something to do with all those leftover Peeps that you don't want your
Because
kids
no one
to
eats
eat.
them.
eat them.
You know,
Yeah,
I'm gonna collect the unwanted Peeps and the unwanted candy corn and just start pelting at people.
Well, the Peeps would feel good, so that's not really a problem.
Oh god.
Wow.
Pillow soft. Yeah, Peeps jousting. See? Peeps jousting. Oh, that's cute. They made
Somebody made a video of it.
yeah,
So
and they
there you
even
go.
made a field for them. That's cute.
You just
Oh wow.
you
Yeah,
just,
just toothpicks in there and then hit go.
turn it on and
Microwave.
they circle around and then they end up fighting.
And one of them melts
That's
first.
That's awesome. We won't do it anymore. We don't get in trouble for copywriting.
Yeah. There was no Peeps jousting here.
Yeah, that's oh man. So it's just circling. Yeah, somebody's like, what are they? Is there anything else, advice, knowledge, wisdom that she wants to share?
Other than Peeps jousting, because that's life changing.
It is.
Well,
it is now.
I definitely there's so many interesting traditions, and I think you kind of talked about. Sorry, picking something up. I think you talked about a little bit about the disguising ourselves, but I think that's a really fun thing to just kind of revisit for a moment. When I was in Ireland, I visited this place. It's actually in the middle of Ireland. And the cave is called, hold on, I will tell you because I even know how to pronounce it. It's called Onagat. And it's a cave. And Ireland's great because there's 2 or 3 places in Ireland, or maybe more, that claim to be the beginning of Halloween. And they're generally caves. And anyway, this cave is one that is said to be where Halloween began, where the actual tradition of Samhain started, because it was the cave that the Celtic Queen Morrigan, who was a warrior goddess, would actually move the gates aside and let everything from the underworld and the other world kind of unleash upon the world. And she would do it a couple times a year, specifically at Samhain. And this is when all manner of things would crawl about. werewolves and vampires and multi-headed dogs and all kinds of things would come forth from the other kingdom, this fairy kingdom that people think is all, sweetness and light, but is actually full of darkness and terror. And these things would come forth, and that people would dress accordingly so that they could move among these fae, these creatures, and not get mistaken, not get attacked or followed. And then, she would call them back, and they would go back into the cave. And so that's part of the reason that we have the idea of dressing like ghouls and things like that. And also because it's a witch's holiday. So you want to disguise yourself as a witch, and you dress like a witch because it's a great night, because the witches hang out with the beasties and the ghoulies, and like we can hang with them, so we just kind of cruise around. So you can dress as a witch, and that'll protect you. You could dress as a demon, and that'll protect you. And then of course, you got all the pranks. We didn't even touch on pranks. I mean, that's like such an important part of Halloween. The trick part of Halloween is very important.
Did you have anything on that?
Well, actually, I was just reading. There's a place here in Minnesota that claims it's the Halloween capital of the world. And I was reading at least the Halloween capital of Minnesota, and I was reading why. Why do they think that? Because they have a nice parade and everything. And one of the reasons is that because that town specifically had a lot of Irish immigrants who came and brought the prankster element of Halloween, and that kind of trickery to kind of like mess with people on that night, and also to trick up. Supposedly you were tricking up the devil, or you were tricking up the demons and the ghoulies out there. So you could do all of these different things. And people were doing it so much, like up until the 1920s, it was like a lot of vandals. And so they just decided they would kind of just make this parade and make this celebration in order to kind of curb the vandalism. And it worked. And now it's, this regular ritual. And I wonder if there's certain elements of that throughout time where it's just like, okay, come on, vandals. We're going to just party right here. And at least we can keep our eye on you instead of, TPing the church.
Yeah, that's one of those. I had stuff. I was just looking at the time. I'm like, man, I don't know if I can get into all these things.
I am talking about Anoka. Yeah. I just read that article today. The guy just asked that. Yeah, Anoka.
And that's one of those things. It's just I've always had an affinity for this holiday. I don't know what it is. It wasn't anything like,
because you can be a freak and no one judges you, and unlike the rest of the year. I mean, it's a little different in like 2021, whatever year it is, that we can be a little freakier and not be quite as judged, but it's not really, and it hasn't always been that way. And so it's, I think that's why I've always been attracted to Halloween, because it's like a time when I've always fit in more than other times in my life. And I've always been attracted to it for that reason.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. It's one of those where no matter where you're at, how you dress or anything, it's like, everybody fits in.
Yeah, unless you're like a total square and don't celebrate.
Yeah, that's or doesn't like candy corn.
Well, now there's a lot of people like Austin, and it's okay.
It's not okay. But then again, it's more for the rest of us.
Yeah, exactly, Laura. Exactly. You can just be a goth and nobody looks and asks you to smile. Nobody tells you to smile on Halloween when you have your makeup on and why don't you smile? Like, because
I'm out of character if I smile.
Yeah, because you suck. That's why.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's what it's kind of like modern, era. It's like every costume has to have the slutty version.
I know. Oh my God. Okay, so my son and I last year, we were going through all of these different costumes. We usually make something, but we look online for like, inspiration and stuff. And I mean, they had like slutty Darth Vader. I'm like, why would Darth Vader wear a skirt? No. Yeah. Like, and for little girls, they had these little puffy Darth Vader. And I said, why wouldn't you just dress like Darth Vader? You know, you're 8. Just dress like Darth Vader if you want to be Darth Vader. You don't have to put a skirt on. You don't have to be the girl version of Darth Vader. It's just like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, capitalism at its highest. I'm like, yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's just like everything is, you have it here. It's basically, it's like we can sell it for the same price, but half the material.
Yeah, right.
You know, we're just gonna call it sexy it creature.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sexy clown. Oh man, I went to this
Vaderette.
fabulous. This is something I love to do on Halloween. I didn't do it all last year, but I do love haunted houses. I love going to like super freaky attractions. I'm actually pretty hard to scare. That might come as a shock to you, but I'm pretty hard to scare. But I love the aesthetic of it. And a friend of mine went to this place outside of the Twin Cities here called like Scream Town, and it was 8 different Halloween attractions in one, and it was basically like 2 haunted forests, 4 haunted houses. One was themed clowns, one was themed CDC. It was like totally like gross and everything was just so beautifully done. And even there, I would say I got like 4 or 5 good, like complete shocking scares where I wasn't expecting someone to jump out and they did, but it was just so beautiful and it was so much fun. And it was hilarious because there were in the last one we went in, there was this group of people and they were just literally just screaming. The one girl was just screaming the whole time. She was screaming. There wasn't even anything happening. And she was just screaming and screaming and screaming. And we realized, like, you know, you kind of it's kind of a spoiler, right? If somebody starts screaming around the corner, you know, someone's going to jump out. So you gotta kind of like lean back a little bit if you want it. But it was just so funny. I don't even know what she was doing there. She was literally just screaming the whole time.
I'm the worst person.
Incredible.
You kind of tell them people, just shut up, just leave.
Yeah.
It was she was so genuinely terrified. She was basically using the person in front of her as a shield. And then I was in costume, of course, and had like really freaky makeup on. And she thought I was part of the haunted house. And so she was turning around looking at me, screaming. And then of course I was like, had to be very like,
yeah, serious.
Her and getting very serious and kind of freaking, because I mean, you know, it was like it's so easy.
In the open, I'm good. Like when you were doing the chainsaw, I was at Universal Halloween Horror Nights years ago. Chainsaw, you can't get me. In the open, you can't get me. I went to a haunted house, a rainforest one, or exactly. Maybe politically correct here. A little person came out of the wall and chased me out the house. I was gone.
A 6'2" guy got chased out the house by a little person.
She came out of the wall. I'm gone. I just ran out the house. I don't know what it was.
That happened to my wife.
No.
I mean, I worked when I was in high school. I worked at haunted house. I was the demented butcher. I mean, that was one of my things.
Nice.
I love these things. And we're walking in Universal's the Van Helsing walkthrough at that time.
No.
And there's already a lady, you know, she's already hyperventilating right there at the entrance. You know, they already got the bag on the paramedics, like, just breathe. And so she's already on edge. And we get to this part where it's the laboratory, and I already see him. As like you said, it's a little person just walking, you know, I'm like, there he is. I already see it happening. And then all of a sudden he just like turns and then runs straight at my wife, and she just freaks. And I'm laughing the whole time. I'm like, oh my God. I'm just, because I see it coming. I mean, because like I said, when you work it, you know the perfect places where people are going to be.
Yeah.
Because you want to be in that spot where they think it's going to be, but no, it's right behind you. And that's what you're expecting. You're expecting that hand. And so I'm laughing the whole time. And it's just, you know, I'm watching people, right, like you said, just screaming and stuff. It just,
so funny.
They're fun. Yeah. They're fun. I mean, I'd love to see a Stranger Things, you know, themed, you know,
that'd be a good one.
That one would be, I think, would be kind of a cool one.
The CDC one was pretty good considering, you know, everything. It was, you know, it definitely had that kind of feeling of, you know, a little bit of that, you know, Walking Dead apocalyptic kind of thing. That'd as you're walking through, and there's, you know, cabinets, medical cabinets, and they use like real prop. Like these people must be in theater because they used, like, everything was real. It wasn't just like they built something that was paper mache that kind of looked like it could be a medical cabinet. It was like an abandoned medical cabinet that had been knocked over and dented in and kicked just right. But it was hilarious because right when we got there, there were a couple of characters roaming around, and this one guy comes charging up, and he's like got horns and demon. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and we had the same markings on our forehead. Like I had just done random makeup. We had the same markings on our forehead. And he ended up coming up to me and handing me this thing. And he was holding this thing up. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? So am I supposed to put that in my mouth? I don't think that's a good idea. So I reach over, and it's a bloody tooth. And I was like, oh, this is like an engagement ring from a demon. This is great. Thank you.
That's
and he gave me
awesome.
his tooth. Yeah. So that was a great start to the evening.
Yeah, that is. And Laura, just real quick before I get on there, it's like, yeah, Stranger Things is actually my song that I have for my alarm.
Oh,
The theme song. Yeah, so that was, I said, so that's an awesome one there. But yeah, no, that's the thing. There's so many stories you can have from like the haunted houses that are just they're absolute blast.
so great.
I mean,
So great.
Rob Zombie did that remake for the deaf school in Salem, Oregon, where I came from. So he went in there and helped him retool that was always an amazing one, because I always had a kid there with a chainsaw, that always freaked people out. I said it was really good.
Well, the thing I liked about this one, and I'll just say this as a person who occasionally goes to haunted houses on her own, the thing that worries me is not that something's going to jump out and scare me. It's that there's going to be some kind of like weird drunk dude that's going to like drag you into the woods or whatever, right? So this one was really very well patrolled, which I really appreciated, because that kind of scare is not fun. But like some kind of, person dressed like a demented patient, that's fun, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, so I really appreciated how kind of they were there, and there were a lot of teenagers there, and teenagers just are hilarious. They're just the most fun. And this place even had an area where you didn't have to pay if you brought your teenage kids there. And it was called the parent area. And you could just like chill out by the bonfire, and you could buy beers and watch as your kids ran screaming out of all the attractions. I just thought that was funny.
I love it when they abandon them. That's the fun thing. Is like whenever you see like a parent take off running without their kid.
Oh yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
wow, that's pretty awesome. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah. I've been in a couple like haunted house situations where I realized like the person just they just completely abandoned me, shoved me over and ran. It was just like, what the?
I can't remember what animal that is that does that. It throws its young to escape.
Some parent it is.
Yeah, just as one of its escape mechanism is throw the kids. I'm out of here. We can have more.
Look at this plump, juicy morsel I have for you.
Oh, well, Varla, thank you so much.
Great. I know we just talked about all kinds of silly things, but that was wonderful.
Well, that was the whole point. It was the whole point is to talk about Halloween. That's what we did it. So it was one. Yeah. So when to on a little serious for when is the next book going to come out? Are you working on
I'm
one?
working on a book. Yeah, I have not sold it yet, but I'm still working on it. So
any tease on possible release date?
Well, I'm not going to self-publish it, so I have to find a publisher. So I wouldn't have a release date until I found a publisher. I'm just not capable of all the things involved with self-publishing. So I'm still looking for a publisher, but I'm still writing it, and it's like about a third of the way done. I could knock it out in another few months. So I'm hoping next year, because if it's done and I sell it, it's kind of good to go, So that one's about plants and it's plants and botany and folklore mixed together. So it's magic and medicine and but specifically looking at fairy tales and folk tales and the symbolism of plants in there and why certain plants were used and how they were used throughout different myth and story. Kind of like the way I did the fairy book, but instead of it being creatures and drawing the connections between the different creatures, it's kind of drawing the connections between the plants.
So, please let us know. Like I said, if we don't have you on prior for some, like I said, definitely would want to have you on when that comes out.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to relaunch my newsletter just to have like a monthly newsletter full of like weird stories and things like that, so people can go to my website and sign up. I think you just scroll down to the bottom and there's a list, and you will not be getting numerous emails from me. Like, hope you'll be lucky to get one a month. But that's what I wanted. I just kind of want to revive that sort of correspondence in that way, instead of relying only on like Facebook or whatever social media. And then I'm actually recording a little series, a podcast series called Midnight Stories, Minute Stories with Varla Ventura, and they're stories to keep you up at night instead of bedtime stories.
Oh,
so
congratulations.
Send us that. Like I said, when you get that, send and we'll share that, so that way we can direct people to you.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
so.
Yeah.
Well, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Happy.
Yeah.
I don't know
I
if
didn't
you said
ask
happy.
you guys what you're doing for
so-
Halloween. We all know what I'm doing, but
We're going to a friend's house here in the neighborhood to hand out candy for kids as they're there, and just kind of have a get together. And so I'm gonna go as a podcast host. That's gonna be my costume.
with a cool hat.
Yes, yes. I'm gonna go as a podcast
Cool
host.
hat.
So.
You're gonna carry a mic with you?
A Mike's Hard Lemonade, probably.
Wow. Good one.
No.
I'm gonna carry one of those giant, like, inflatable microphones.
Yeah.
Just carry a hairbrush.
Yeah.
Just don't order it from wish.com. It's not going to look right.
Yeah.
You'll be like, what's that supposed to be, a podcast mic? That's not a podcast mic.
It's not what that's meant to be.
No.
Yeah, no hat. Yeah, but it's if the light hits wrong, I blind everybody. So I have to wear the hat.
Jesus.
Well, you're gonna go as a card-carrying beardo, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. Yeah, it's about the max.
Right, if you guys have a vow to like never shave your beards, because what would you do? 2.5 beards, 2 beards, and kind of a vow.
We've had a couple of times like it's like we're deals were like
You have to talk each other down.
yeah, bad. So like, here we could do this, and we're like, no, we can't. We can't have something like you shave off your beard. The only time I would be entertaining it is if it was for charity. If it was from like some charity event where the three of us,
where they wanted your beard hair.
Well, no, it'd be one of those to raise money. And if we could raise this amount of money, we'd shave our beards, to raise the money.
Right.
Yeah, not donate, beard hair. Yeah.
Yeah, this is valuable.
Locks of love. What do? You just put it on. It looks like a horrible toupee.
A voodoo doll with it or something. I don't know.
It'll be the weave on somebody's beard where they put the felt.
Why does your head look all curly? That's gross. Where the carpet matches the drapes.
Oh dear.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
Oh, man.
All right. Wait. On that note, happy Halloween.
Well, happy Halloween. Yeah.
Yes. Is it? I don't know. Is it happy? Samhain? I mean,
I just say happy Halloween. It's so pretentious to walk around saying "Blessed Samhain."
I feel like you got to be
kids
going
all
around.
Look at you like Jesus.
You got to be going around looking like Alistair Crowley with a cocktail in your hand.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy though, the configuration of the weekend, because you can do a big party on Saturday or a small party, depending on, your comfort level. And then to actually, get the trick-or-treating in on Sunday night.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be.
And the school district here gave my son 2 days off after Halloween. It's like they know that it's an important holiday. So we're literally gonna stay up all night on Sunday eating candy. Like,
I wish I could stay up all night, like type thing. It's one, but so soon. I mean, Friday nights and Saturday nights are cool when Halloween falls on that.
Yes. Oh, and so true.
So one of these times, like I said, if only it had been last Sunday type thing, and then my vacation would have, fit perfectly with it. But oh well.
Oh yeah, well, when I used to work on 9 to 5, I always took Halloween off. Always. Other people, I'd work on Christmas, but
when this is your day, I mean, like I said, it's like, oh, don't you want Christmas?
I would take it as a religious holiday. I would make a point taking it as a religious holiday.
Yeah, this is literally my religion. This is our, this is our holy day. Yeah. All right, we got to let Varla have it off.
All right, she's taking it off again.
All right, Varla. Well, hey, tell family, we got lucky. The cats, the cats didn't attack you tonight.
I actually kicked all of the animals out of here right before, as my computer was updating. I kicked all the animals out of my my midnight room here. And one of them really didn't want to go, but the two cats are always fighting. And then we know the dog tends to find the squeaky toy right at that moment.
Yeah, that was awesome. We just came in. It's like, of course, we did the squeak toy. Yep.
Oh, there we go.
That's dogs. All right. Well,
Dog.
thank you so much. And once again, like I said, I got them here on the thing. Everybody go to Amazon.com, VarlaVentura.net, Amazon.com.
My books. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Holding them up. They look so good.
Literally have them here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're excellent books. I mean, incredibly, easy to read and very, very entertaining and informative. I mean,
Thank you.
And I said, I'll get on those reviews. I apologize. I haven't got those on the thing yet. I've been a slacker for those. But I'll try to tackle those things here too. So
your compliments are enough.
But hey, happy Halloween.
Thank you.
Thank you again so much.
Happy Halloween. All right. Good night, you guys.
Everybody, thank you for watching. This show is brought to you by threebeerspodcast.com. So just go there, support us as well, and purchase merchandise, or go to patreon.com, become a beardo, support adopt one of these homely beards, keep us outfitted with beard oil so that we don't look too scraggly. We are also going to be Wednesday nights. We get to follow the amazing Into the Outer Realms people, Joey and Tanya, now on ERRT Radio at 11 p.m. Eastern time every Wednesday. So probably, I'd say probably 3 months, this show will be replayed. So like I said, we got a little bit of a cushion so everybody can replay this. So everybody, like I said, just check us out. Please, social media, follow. We're on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers, 1,000 followers on those things. That really helps us because then we're able to broadcast live. We're able to do so much more stuff. I mean, everything opens up at that magical point. But everybody, thanks again for watching. We will see you next Wednesday with some more craziness. Varla, you're amazing. I appreciate you coming on so much. Happy Halloween, everybody. Stay safe.